You didn't yell. You didn't grab the dog. You didn't do anything that most people would call wrong. You just had a bad day, and you walked through the door carrying it. And somehow your dog already knew. That moment, that quiet shift in their posture, that subtle decision to stay a little further away, that's not random behavior. That's not a coincidence. That's your dog reading you accurately. And what they do with what they read is something most dog owners have never fully understood. There's a moment almost every dog owner has experienced, one they usually don't talk about. Maybe the dog barked for the 10th time in a row and something just snapped. You said their name in a way you didn't entirely mean to, too sharp, too loud, and before you could even register what happened, your dog was already across the room, ears low, tail tucked, not making eye contact. And you felt it, that immediate, quiet guilt. You probably called them back. Maybe they came. Maybe they were slow about it. But the mood in the room had shifted, and you both felt that too. Here's what most people tell themselves in that moment. It's fine. Dogs don't hold grudges. They forget in 5 minutes. That belief is comforting, and it's also only partially true. Dogs don't replay arguments the way humans do. They're not sitting in the corner stewing on what you said. But they are doing something arguably more sophisticated. They're constantly building a feeling map of you, who you are when you're calm, who you are when you're tense, and most importantly, whether the space around you feels safe or unpredictable. And that map, it doesn't reset every 5 minutes. Human memory works largely through narrative. We remember what happened, when it happened, who was involved, and we build a story from it. Dogs process memory differently. Research in animal cognition, including work by ethologist Adam Miklosi and his colleagues at the Family Dog Project in Hungary, has shown that dogs have a form of episodic-like memory. They can recall specific events and their context. But more relevant to this conversation is what's called emotional associative memory. This is the kind of memory that doesn't require words or narrative. It's felt memory, sensation memory, pattern memory. Think of it this way. Your dog doesn't remember Tuesday the way you remember Tuesday, but they absolutely remember what it feels like when the energy in the room changes the way it changed that Tuesday. That shift in your tone, the tension in your jaw, the way your footsteps sounded different. These are data points your dog has been collecting since the day they met you. And over time, those data points become something powerful, a prediction. Your dog isn't just reacting to what you're doing right now. They're anticipating what might come next, based on everything they've learned about what your behavior looks and feels like before things go sideways. This isn't anxiety. This isn't trauma. This is intelligence. But intelligence without reassurance can become wariness, and wariness over time can quietly erode something important. When a dog experiences a stressful event, a sudden loud sound, a sharp reprimand, a tense household environment, their body responds the same way any mammal's body responds. Cortisol rises. Cortisol is the primary stress hormone. In short bursts, it's not harmful. It's actually part of healthy alertness. But research published in journals like Applied Animal Behavior Science and work from veterinary behaviorists like Dr. Karen Overall has consistently shown that dogs living in chronically stressful environments, homes with frequent conflict, unpredictable human moods, repeated harsh corrections, show elevated baseline cortisol levels over time. What does that actually look like in a dog? It's rarely dramatic. It's usually subtle. They startle more easily. They become harder to settle. They may avoid certain rooms or certain people. They may lose interest in play. Some dogs become overly clingy, needing to know where you are at every moment because uncertainty feels dangerous. None of these are signs of a bad dog. They're signs of a nervous system that has learned to stay alert because alertness has felt necessary. And here's the part that matters most. The dog isn't consciously choosing this. This is their body adapting to the emotional weather of their home. Of all the ways dogs read humans, voice may be the most powerful. Dogs are not just hearing sound, they're parsing it. Research from Attila Andik's neuroimaging lab at Oitvos-Larand University, the first to put dogs inside MRI machines and study their brain responses to human speech, found something remarkable. Dogs process both the content and the emotional tone of what we say in separate brain regions, much like humans do. The tone landed in an area associated with emotional processing. The words were processed separately, and crucially, the tone mattered more. Your dog genuinely cannot tell the difference between "I'm so frustrated with you right now," said calmly, and "Good boy, you're amazing," said flatly. But they can absolutely tell the difference between a voice that carries warmth and a voice that carries threat, even when the threat isn't aimed at them. Think about that. You could be arguing on a phone call. You could be frustrated with someone at work speaking out loud. Your dog is listening to the emotional frequency of that, not the content. And if that emotional frequency feels like danger, their nervous system responds accordingly. This is why dogs in tense homes sometimes seem anxious with no obvious cause. From the outside, nothing seems aimed at the dog, but the home's emotional atmosphere is something the dog lives inside of every moment. They can't turn it off. They can't choose not to notice. Let's talk about what actually happens after a moment of human frustration. Most owners feel guilty. They try to make it up to the dog, extra affection, treats, a walk. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's something worth understanding about what the dog is actually processing in the aftermath. Dogs don't need you to apologize. They can't receive an apology as a concept. What they need is something more immediate and more honest, a return to safety. When you sit down quietly after losing your temper, when your body softens, your breathing slows, your voice drops back to its normal warmth, your dog feels that shift. And if that shift is consistent, it teaches something incredibly important. The storm passes, and then it's safe again. This is where the concept of rupture and repair from human attachment research becomes genuinely applicable to the human-dog bond. The relationship between an owner and a dog doesn't require perfection. It requires a reliable pattern that when things break in some small way, they come back together. Dogs forgive readily, not because they're simple, but because they're wired to work with the resources available to them. If you are their person, their home, their attachment figure, they are predisposed to reconnect. But that reconnection has to be felt, not performed. Talking at a dog right after a tense moment, baby voice reassurances while you're still visibly upset, doesn't land the way owners hope. Dogs read past the words to the physical truth underneath. Are your shoulders still tight? Is your jaw still set? Is your energy still buzzing? The body tells the real story.
Here's something behavioral science has been consistent about for decades. Dogs don't struggle with correction. They struggle with chaos. A clear, calm no, delivered with neutral energy and no emotional residue, communicates information. It tells the dog, "This behavior right now is not what I'm looking for." Dogs can receive that. They can work with that. But a correction delivered from a place of anger, frustration, or emotional overflow is a different signal entirely. Now the dog isn't just receiving information about their behavior, they're also trying to navigate a human who feels emotionally dangerous in this moment. And that second task overwhelms the first. The correction gets lost. What remains is uncertainty. And uncertainty, as we've established, is what dogs find genuinely stressful. This is one reason why punishment-based training that relies on owner frustration or escalating emotional intensity tends to produce dogs that are compliant when the pressure is on, but not dogs that have genuinely understood or internalized anything. They've learned to avoid the feeling, not to understand the principle. This doesn't mean you need to be a robot. Dogs aren't looking for a human with no emotional range. They're looking for a human whose emotional range doesn't become unpredictable or frightening. There's a significant difference between those two things. If you've ever felt like your dog just knows when something is wrong, even when you've said nothing, even when you've tried to act normal, you're not imagining it. Dogs are extraordinary readers of human facial expression and body posture. A 2016 study by Natalia Albuquerque and colleagues showed that dogs can distinguish between happy and angry human faces, not just in people they know, but in strangers. They were actually faster to recognize angry faces than happy ones, which makes evolutionary sense. Identifying threat accurately was a survival skill. What this means, practically, is that you cannot fully hide your emotional state from your dog. They see the micro-tension around your eyes. They notice whether your posture is open or closed. They register whether you reach for them with soft hands or stiff ones. Your dog is not being oversensitive when they seem off around you on a bad day. They are being accurate. And this cuts both ways beautifully, because it also means that when you are genuinely calm, genuinely present, genuinely connected to them, they feel that too. With the same accuracy, with the same depth. Your peace is as contagious as your stress. You just don't always notice your peace the way you notice your tension. Here is perhaps the most important reframe this video can offer. Your dog is not judging you on moments. They're building a picture from patterns. One bad morning doesn't define you to your dog. One sharp word in a month of warmth doesn't reshape the relationship. What matters, what truly shapes how safe a dog feels with a person, is the cumulative emotional experience over time. Are most interactions warm? Does calmness return reliably after tension? Are daily routines predictable and comforting? Does the person's presence overall feel like a signal that the world is okay? If the answer is yes to most of these, your dog is not carrying a wound from last Thursday. They're carrying a sense of security that was built across thousands of small, ordinary moments. The morning walk, the quiet evening on the couch, the calm way you called their name when they came to you. Security isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in repetition. And this is also the truth that matters most for anyone feeling guilt after a difficult moment. One moment doesn't undo a relationship, but a pattern does shape one. The question to sit with isn't, did I do something wrong last week? It's, what is the overall pattern of how my dog experiences me?
Trust with a dog is not a dramatic project. It doesn't require special techniques or elaborate protocols. It requires consistency, presence, and what veterinary behaviorists call predictability. The dog's ability to anticipate that you will behave the way you've behaved before, and that your behavior makes their world navigable. Some practical, research-supported ways that trust is rebuilt or deepened. Calm, daily rituals. Dogs find deep comfort in routine. Morning walks, predictable feeding, a regular bedtime signal. These aren't just logistical, they're emotional anchors. They tell the dog, this person organizes the world in a way I can rely on. Low-pressure interaction. Sitting near your dog without asking anything of them, not commanding, not training, just being present, builds a kind of relational ease that formal training can't replicate. The dog learns that you are safe even when nothing is required. Soft voice as a default. Not theatrical baby talk, just a genuinely relaxed tone. Over time, that vocal quality becomes associated with safety, and it starts to have a kind of calming effect on its own, a kind of emotional shorthand. Noticing and responding to small signals. When a dog offers a calming signal, a yawn, a look away, a soft blink, and the human responds by softening rather than pushing, the dog learns that their communication is being received, that their internal state matters, that the relationship is genuinely mutual. None of this is complicated. All of it takes awareness. Dogs don't process time the way we do. They don't spend their days reviewing old arguments or cataloging past disappointments, but they live fully and continuously inside the emotional environment their humans create. They notice when the room feels light. They notice when it feels tight. They notice when your voice carries ease versus when it carries something heavier. They notice when your hands reach for them with peace versus when your body is still carrying something unresolved. They remember not the words, not the specific Tuesday, but the feeling, the pattern, the emotional texture of life with you. And here's what I want to leave you with. Because this isn't a video designed to make you feel bad about the hard moments. Every dog owner has them, every single one. This is a video designed to help you understand that your dog is watching you with a level of emotional intelligence that most humans underestimate. Not to judge you, not to hold grudges, but because you are their world. You are their point of orientation, the signal they use to understand whether everything is okay. And because you matter that much to them, your awareness matters just as much back. You don't have to be perfect. Dogs aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for safety, for warmth, for a consistent sense that when things go sideways, they come back to calm. That's a version of love that's actually within reach for anyone paying attention. And the fact that you watched something like this, that you care enough to understand what's happening inside your dog's experience, that says something real. Your dog already knows it.